Welcome back to the weekly installment of the Reserve List Top 10. These are the hottest selling cards on the Reserve List from November 28th all the way through to December 6th of 2025. If you want to know where people have been spending money, this is the right video for you. Hey guys, thanks again for hanging out with the Moxman for another Reserve List video. This one kind of gives you a tale of what actually happens when there's not a lot of great cards people want and the Reserve List still exists in its entirety. A reminder before we start today's video that, hey, if you're buying any of these cards, if you're shopping around on TCG Player, don't forget to use my affiliate link found in the description of all of my videos. Click the link, it takes you to your shopping experience. Now, our number 10 card this week is from Stronghold, and it's the Sliver Queen. This thing came in with an average price of $301. It had 47 sales. That's $14,159.22 of total sales action. This is a massive amount of money for this card. This is the lowest card on the list this week. When people have Black Friday, Cyber Monday, the weekend full of deals, they got cashback dollars, they got credit card points, then they jump in there with hard-earned cash or trade-in value, store credit, or whatever else you may be thinking of. This is one of those points where you realize people may resent the Reserve List, they may have problems with it, but when push comes to shove and the money's available, players dive into this stuff and they go after the cards they have always desired. Like anything, like a hot rod card you've always wanted. When you go back in your childhood and look at the things you wanted, go back to the 80s, man. Think of He-Man and stuff. There's things we want, we dive into this stuff. Now, our next card at number 9 is Taiga. This is a revised card. You got Unlimited, you got everything from Alpha, Beta, Collector's Edition. You can see where we're going with this. Now, this card again, when we see it here at $397 on average, and you look at how much money just got spent in this card, you realize this thing's kind of been upticking all year long. It had a bit of a dip here and there, but a lot of the dual lands have made such tremendous comebacks. And people don't seem to realize just how valuable these cards are. They think, there's lots of cards that kind of replicate dual land effects. There's lots of ways of workarounds. Yeah, they're workarounds. But if you own a dual land, you don't need a workaround. You get the 2 mana types the way you need them to be. Now, of course, mana bases are the most important thing when putting your deck together. If you don't have the right combination of mana in the right position, you're not going to be able to do anything. No matter how awesome your deck is, it starts with mana, it ends with mana, and that's why people go after these things. And again, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, this is where money was going. Now, our next card is Fastball, and this kind of goes back to the whole idea of this card getting unbanned in Commander. Now, we saw this with Rofellos last week, and we've seen it in the past with Tolarian Academy. Now, this thing had 70 sales, $2,000 of sales action. It doesn't seem like a lot of money, but you understand this card's been under constant pressure for years. People who buy this, there's collectors out there who pick up as many copies as they can. They pick them up cheap, they pick them up expensive. The point is to keep picking them up, because if this thing ever gets unbanned, you've now hit the windfall. You've hit the lottery. You invested $5 a card for the last 10 years and you bought 5 copies a week. You're basically going to be able to sell these things for $150 or more each. It's going to be 100, 150 as soon as they get unbanned inside Commander. It's crazy, but the point is they haven't been unbanned. But that dream is still there for many players. With any card that is banned in Commander, there are people out there hoarding and building up positions. Now, our next card. Let's talk about Volcanic Island. Volcanic Island usually does not make a top 10 video. It's an expensive card. You can see here, though, it had 73 sales or $52,000 of sales action. What I found most interesting with the sales of this card were people buying 2 to 4. They weren't buying singles. There was a couple people, of course, but a lot of people were buying between 2 copies and 4 copies. With an average price of $720.24 for near mint copies, you had a lot of players out there who were like, hey, can I get moderately played? Can I get damaged? Can I get heavily played? Can I save myself a couple of $100 per copy? How much trade-in do I have? How much store credit do I have? What cards can I trade in to build? And hey, I got a 15% cash back. This is crazy. People did it. People wanted to. They spent so much money on the Reserve List this week. This is $50,000+ just on one type of dual land. And it's not the only card on the list this week. It is insane. Look what just happened with Taiga. But don't worry, there's other weird cards. Check out the next one. We're going all the way over to a great card. Metalworker, Urza's Destiny. This thing takes the number 6 spot. 79 sales. That's $10,000. That thing has not, it usually has 20, 30 sales at max when it makes the top 10. No. People decide this was the card. This was the one to go for. With an average price of $133, yeah, it's been dipping for a long time, honestly. This thing's been really cheap for quite a while now, and a lot of players are like, you know what? Why not just go for it? Let's not forget, guys, this is one of those crazy cards, right? It is a crazy card because you can reveal any number of artifacts in your hand to add 2 colorless mana to your mana pool for each card revealed this way. You put this into a commander deck full of artifacts, you can see where this can kind of do some crazy game effects. Not to mention multiple ways of untapping and doing more things means you can do this multiple times in a single turn. Yeah, infinite mana combos. There's lots of crazy things going on you can have fun with. And at the price point of $100 a card, maybe $80, $90 for getting a moderately played one, a lot of people dove in. Now our next card is of course a card we've been talking about for the last 2 months. This is Mox Diamond from Stronghold. This card comes into the number 5 position, jumped from number 10 to number 5. 83 sales, $63,000 of sales action. The copy selling, moderately played if they can be found, but mostly lightly played in near mint copies. Average price is $775.62 a copy. We are getting very close to the all-time high for this card. And we've been kind of parroting what's been going on for the last year, saying it's going up. Look at this, guys. It's not $400 anymore. It's not $500. It's not $600. It just keeps creeping up in value. It's going to go past $1,000 at some point, even if it's not now. This is one of those cards that can just be literally played in all kinds of crazy decks in Commander, Vintage, Legacy. There's a demand for the card and there's just not enough supply, and it's going to keep causing the market to jump up because when people finally buy this card, they just don't let it go at all. They just keep them. I have lots of friends who have a playset of 4. They're not using them every time, but they're like, no, I'm not going to be rebuying these things. I bought them for $50. I'm keeping them. Now, Lake of the Dead, Alliances. This card's actually lost a little bit. I think it was at $92 last week, and now it's at $91. It had 102 sales. That's $9,000+ of sales action for the card. We know it's some of the most iconic artwork. We know this is one of those cards that in a Tron, Eldrazi, all kinds of mana producing, jump crazy things, that this is the one to get. It's also not $300 anymore. This isn't 2021. Right? This is now 2025 going into 2026. It's been steady at around $90 for a very long time. It's had a few hiccups above 100 and a few hiccups below the 80 mark. But if you bought the card at like $50 last year, congratulations, that was the right play to do because it has come up from there. And the supply actually seems to be meeting demand. We're not seeing this card run out, and we're not seeing this card be overindulgent in the market, which just keeps getting played. No, this thing just, it's kind of staying steady with buyers and sellers. I like this one. This is a card that, of course, I own a playset of 4 myself, and it's just one of those cards you go, yeah, that reminds me of my childhood. Now, our next card, Winding Canyons. This is a card I think people have been forgetting about, and they shouldn't have, because somebody came in and bought a lot. 110 copies of this card just disappeared from the market. That's only $2,437. Why do we care if that many copies sold? Why do we care about this Weatherlight card? Well, $22.16 on average, I admit, that's not like a scary amount of money. Remember this thing was like $80, $90 though? So you're wondering, can it go up again? Yes, it can. It could get really bad. Winding Canyons doesn't come into play tapped. This thing has a game effect that is just critical. Pay 2 and tap it until end of turn. You may play creature cards whenever you could play instants, which means all your creatures get flash. All the things they need to trigger when they come into play. I can't state it enough, guys. This is one of those cards you should already own a copy. At least one. Pay the $13. There's one on TCG Player, heavily played. Go ahead, have at it. It's super cheap. Guys, if this thing shoots up though, it's everyone, it's fine. Oh, here we go. Underground Sea. Oh my goodness. Number 2, 119 sales or $112,663.25 of total sales action. This is the card that people went after. This is the one. I know it's number 2 and it's not number 1. I get it. But this is the card that the big money was chasing this week. This is the one that all kinds of copies moved on multiple platforms with the Black Friday through to Cyber Monday. This is the golden goose. Everyone said, I can get myself an Underground Sea. I can save 15%, which in some case like $100+. I can get maybe free shipping if I do a certain amount of an order, which means this will get free shipping. I'm going to get all kinds of crazy things because I made this happen, which means really I'm saving like 25% on the card when it's all said and done. Yeah, I'm going to take that deal. Being able to lock this card in at $500 or $600 was crazy for people. They dove into it and they enjoyed every minute. But now we're going to the number 1 card. This is City of Solitude. It comes in at number 1 from Visions, and it's here yet again. Now you can see the giant spike it has at the end of the thing. 146 sales. That's $3,000 of sales action. This used to be like a $5, $6 card. It's just recently this thing really shot up. Now, with the average price of $20.95, that's actually a pretty big spike. It is coming back down, and there's tons of supply in the market, so you don't have to buy it now. But there is a real pressure on the card right now for people playing Commander. This is the reason why. When you look at this card, and you see something like this, you're like, oh, it's a pretty good artwork. It's a low casting cost. Like, what are people thinking? Oh, each player can only play spells and abilities on their own turn. Oh, it stops so many different commander decks. It's just an evil, spiteful card that's going to mess people up. Oh, do I really? Yeah, I do. I want to buy it. I'm going to buy it for like 10 bucks. I'm going to buy it for 20 bucks. I'm going to buy it for 30 bucks. The market went nuts on this one. It will settle down in price. Don't go blowing tons of money on this. You'll see in about 90 days, things will settle down. Okay, guys? A great card, though. A great card. So that is your top 10 this week. The sales on the reserve list were exceptionally high. Now, I know I've stated this in the last couple of weeks. We've seen a lot of pressure on the reserve list, a lot of sales happening in the backdrop of many bigger, huge release items, tentpole releases from universes beyond. That doesn't mean that these are all being ignored. It just means there's not enough market impact to have anyone really mention it. Just because we see 120 copies of a reserve list card like Underground Sea move, that's not enough to really move the needle in terms of how much supply is really out there. It takes more pressure than that. It would take weeks and weeks of those kinds of sales to make people really see what's going on and to really make the market jump to the next level, to make it do a little hiccup to make you pay attention. Get a little bit annoying when you see all these cards jumping up and you're saying, why is that happening? Now, that being said, the Black Friday, Cyber Monday really did show that players, as much as people think that nobody's after reserve list cards, they absolutely are. They are huge, but only when the window of opportunity seems to be in the player's favor. Nobody wants to pay $1,000 a dual land. They have in the past, they're probably going to do it again, but nobody wants to pay it. They'd like to get it cheaper. So when these deals come along, if you have a store that's giving you 15% off, a credit card that gives you a couple of percent off, maybe free shipping, you add a few other things in, you've kind of planned around it. Maybe you have some trade and some store credit. Like I explained in the video, that was a big motivating factor in this particular week's top 10. Many of these cards exploding up. There were so many other cards that almost made the list, but starting at 40 something for Sliver Queen really put a lot of cards off to the side. Soul Devi Excavation's got 40 sales. It's not enough to crack the top 10. You have other cards like Grim Monolith selling 34 copies. Not enough to crack the top 10. It's an expensive card. They're well sought after. They have great gameplay potential. Nobody can really get past that 47 mark and say, oh, well, these cards are all worthless. No. The cards that made the list this week are not buyout cards like a Thrall Champion. I love the card, but it's not like a 50-cent, card from the reserve list. The cards that are on the list this week, it adds up to hundreds of thousands of dollars. And we're not talking about the sporadic things like a Black Lotus selling for $20,000, right? You're not talking about those, little in-between cards that may have sold one or two copies. We're talking about big, huge gameplay potential cards that have to be playmakers. These are cards you want to have in your deck. These are cards you want to own, but you don't want to pay the money, and now they do. People went out there, spent some hard-earned money, and they started buying these cards. And then there's a few outliers, of course. City of Solitude coming in this high isn't a typical thing, but it's always had great potential for a deck, a deck being built around it to make sure you can mess up your opponent as long as you're building to make sure that card gets into play. I'm surprised we didn't see Replenish and Academy Rector here, but they have been on the list a lot this year, so I guess the market's kind of said they're kind of topped out right now. Either way, fascinating times to see this many cards selling on the list at such high prices that people were willing to pay. Guys, thanks a lot for hanging out. Thanks for being here. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll be back every day because this channel, it puts out content daily. Have a great one. Thanks again for hanging out at the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's top 10, and I hope you guys enjoyed the fact we put out content every single day. Now, here at the end of the video, a big shout out and a thank you to my patrons, to my YouTube membership members for supporting my efforts here on YouTube. Thanks again, everyone. Is it recording? Are we recording? You made it? We're at the end? Welcome back to the Ramble Jamble. This is where the verbal diarrhea comes out of my mouth again. Whatever gets said is just gets said. There's nothing we can do to change it. It's just the way it is. Now, for anyone out there who got deals on dual lands, they picked up a Time Walk. Maybe they got themselves a Time Vault. Candelabra of Tanos. Mishra's Factory. You got some sick cards. And you're like, dude, they had a 20% off sale. free shipping on orders over 300. I had cash back of 2 or 3% on my credit card. It was amazing. I saved like $400 or $500 on this order. Now you may be wondering why a store jumps in and says, "Hey, we're having this crazy sale on all these duels and all these amazing." One store sold like 43 dual lands in a day, made like 25 grand cash, and they needed to because they are riding out the negative on Spider-Man and Avatar. Too many boxes in stock, not enough moving out quick enough to cover their nut. So now they got to sit on it. But by moving all those dual lands, moving all these reserve list cards, these gold brick items that we all worship and love, it lets them get by. In the good times and bad, you got to be at that store in the right position at the right time, because those stores will buy the cards like that back, right? They'll buy them at 50, 60 cents on the dollar, depending on the condition, of course. And then they sell them at times like this on Black Friday, Cyber Monday stuff. Maybe they get maybe they bought the card for 500 and it's worth 1,000. So they sell it for 1,000 all year. Nobody buys it. Black Friday comes along. Maybe they're selling for 750. They're still making 250 on the card. They're still making some money. That helps them carry them through. So it's still good for them. And this is a way for them to move out product as well, to clear up that inventory of reserve list stuff that may have accumulated throughout the year. Use that cash to ride things through to like Lorwyn, which I know a couple of stores did. It was a smart play. It was good. It's good. A lot of players are very happy picking up those reserve list staples, right? Amazing stuff. And people forget about that. They always think that, oh, well, I've been waiting all year. I finally get there. Yeah. And it gets more and more affordable when compared to the newest cards. The question you have to be scared about, like, on this green screen, I'm looking at the camera and the thing at the same time. I know, my eyes went down. It doesn't matter. We just do what we do here. What was I talking about? I don't know. Oh, yeah. When you think about how much things cost now, how long will reserve list cards stay as cheap as they are? Nobody cares. Nobody's thinking about it. But it is just going to happen one day. And that, when it happens, will be such a conversation. Guys, have a great one. Thanks for hanging out. Hopefully you get to see me at the live stream. Hopefully you get to hang out with me, 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. But if you made it to the Ramble Jamble, I already know you're going to be there. Because you're that type of person. Christmas is coming. Christmas is coming.